Welcome to the Discourse Analyzer AI Toolkit, where articles come alive. You're listening to the audio version of our article. For the full text and an interactive experience, check out the link in the description below. Interact with any selection using our AI assistant to enhance your understanding. Let's explore.
Introduction to New Materialism in Discourse Analysis. New Materialism represents a transformative approach in discourse analysis, shifting the focus from purely linguistic or symbolic interpretations to a more integrated view that considers the impact of material realities. This philosophical framework challenges traditional dichotomies between subject and object, mind and body, and culture and nature, proposing a more holistic understanding of how discourses are not only shaped by but also shape material conditions. By emphasizing the agency of matter and the entanglement of material discursive practices, New Materialism offers fresh insights into the tangible effects of discourses on the material world. This introduction explores the core principles of New Materialism and its relevance to discourse analysis, highlighting how this approach reconfigures our understanding of text and context. 1. New Materialism Overview. New Materialism is a philosophical and theoretical framework that has emerged prominently in recent years, offering fresh perspectives in various fields including discourse analysis, cultural studies, and feminist theory. It reconfigures traditional approaches to understanding the relationships between discourse, materiality, and subjectivity. Here's an introduction to how New Materialism influences discourse analysis by integrating material realities with discursive practices. 1. Overview of New Materialism. New Materialism challenges the conventional focus on language and discourse as the primary means of constructing reality, which has been dominant in fields influenced by post-structuralism and social constructivism. Instead, it emphasizes the agency of the material world and its integral role in shaping human experience, social structures, and cultural practices. Key aspects of New Materialism include agency of matter. New Materialism argues that matter itself has agency and is not merely a passive entity acted upon by human or social forces. This perspective sees materials and objects as active participants in the world, capable of influencing and being influenced by human activities. Entanglement of discourse and materiality. Unlike frameworks that prioritize either material conditions, like traditional Marxism, or discursive constructions, like Foucauldian discourse analysis, New Materialism sees these elements as deeply intertwined. It asserts that material conditions and discursive practices co-constitute each other, meaning that they are mutually dependent and cannot be fully understood in isolation. Embodiment and effect. New Materialism places significant emphasis on the body and emotions as sites where the material and the discursive intersect. It explores how bodily experiences and affective responses are not just biological or psychological phenomena but are shaped by cultural and social discourses. Ethical and ecological implications. By acknowledging the agency of the material world, New Materialism fosters a more ethically and ecologically aware framework. It prompts rethinking our interactions with the non-human world, advocating for a more responsible and sustainable approach to environmental issues. 2. New Materialism in Discourse Analysis. In discourse analysis, New Materialism invites scholars to reconsider how material conditions influence and are influenced by discursive practices. For example, in studying media discourses, a new materialist approach would not only analyze the content and language of media but also consider the material technologies that produce and disseminate media, such as the role of digital platforms and devices in shaping communication practices. 3. Methodological implications. Integrative research designs. Methodologies informed by New Materialism often involve integrative research designs that combine qualitative and quantitative methods to capture the interactions between material conditions and discursive practices. Interdisciplinary approaches. New Materialism encourages interdisciplinary research, blending insights from science and technology studies, anthropology, sociology, and other fields to build a more holistic understanding of how material and discursive forces interplay. Focus on non-human actors. New Materialism expands the focus of research to include non-human actors, like technology, animals, and environments, examining how these entities influence and are influenced by human discourses and actions. New materialism offers a robust framework for expanding the scope of discourse analysis by integrating material realities with discursive practices. This approach not only enriches theoretical understandings but also enhances practical analyses of how material and discursive elements together shape cultural and social phenomena. As such, new materialism provides valuable tools for addressing complex modern challenges that span the social, technological, and environmental domains. 2. Core principles. New materialism is a vibrant and evolving theoretical framework that reconfigures how we understand the relationships between material realities and discursive practices. At its core, it challenges established dualisms between subject and object, culture and nature, and human and non-human, proposing a more integrated approach to analyzing the world. Below, we explore the core principles that define new materialism, particularly as it pertains to discourse analysis. Core principles of new materialism. Agency of matter. Active materiality. New materialism posits that matter itself possesses agency, an ability to act and affect outcomes independently of human intention. This principle challenges the traditional passive view of the material world as merely a backdrop to human activity. Examples. In discourse analysis, this might involve studying how technological media, not just the content they carry, influence communication practices and social relationships. Material discursive entanglement. Co-constitution. According to new materialism, material conditions and discursive practices are not separate and interacting forces but are deeply entangled and co-constitutive. This means that changing material conditions can alter discursive practices and vice versa. Implications. In research, this principle encourages an analysis that simultaneously considers how discourses shape material realities and how these materialities influence discursive constructions. For example, examining how medical technologies, material, shape discourses around health and body, discursive, and how these discourses feedback to affect the development and use of technologies. Rejection of classic dualisms. Beyond binaries. New materialism rejects the classic dualisms of Western thought, such as nature, culture, mind, body, and human, non-human. It argues for a more integrated approach that sees these pairs as inextricably linked and mutually influencing. Practical application. This might lead to analyzing how environmental policies, discourses, are both shaped by and shape natural phenomena, material conditions, seeing policy and environment as intertwined rather than separate. Focus on embodiment and effect. Bodily experience. New materialism emphasizes the importance of the body and emotions in understanding the interaction between the material and the discursive. It posits that bodily experiences and affective responses are not merely biological but are shaped by and shape cultural and social discourses. Research perspective. This might involve studying how physical spaces, schools, offices, materially affect the emotions and behaviors of the people within them and how these effects, in turn, influence social interactions and cultural meanings. Ethical and ecological considerations. Responsibility to material world. With its emphasis on the agency of the material world, new materialism encourages a reconsideration of ethical and ecological responsibilities, suggesting that humans have ethical obligations not only to each other but to all material entities. Analytical focus. This principle can guide research towards exploring how discourses around sustainability shape and are shaped by material environmental changes, advocating for more sustainable interactions with the world. New materialism offers a rich, complex set of tools for discourse analysis that encourages scholars to look beyond textual and linguistic analysis to consider the active role of material realities in shaping social phenomena. By integrating the material with the discursive, new materialism pushes the boundaries of traditional analysis, offering new insights into the interconnectedness of our world and prompting a re-evaluation of ethical, ecological, and cultural practices. 3. Relevance to discourse analysis. New materialism significantly enriches discourse analysis by providing fresh perspectives on the interaction between language, power, and material realities. It challenges the traditional boundaries of discourse analysis that often prioritize language and symbolic interactions, emphasizing instead the tangible, active role that material conditions play in shaping discourses and their effects. Here's why and how new materialism offers a vital perspective in studying discourses and their impacts on the material world. Relevance of new materialism to discourse analysis. Expands the scope of discourse analysis. Incorporation of materiality. New materialism urges discourse analysts to consider not only the textual or spoken elements of communication but also the material contexts in which these discourses occur. This includes technology, bodies, space, and the environment, elements that traditional discourse analysis might overlook. Example: in studying the discourse of digital communication, new materialism would prompt an examination of how the physical design of digital devices and user interfaces influence social interactions and cultural norms. Challenges linguistic determinism. Agency beyond language. By emphasizing the agency of matter, new materialism challenges the notion that linguistic structures alone construct reality. It posits that material entities also speak or influence outcomes, thereby broadening the understanding of what constitutes a text or discourse. Example: an analysis of urban planning would not only consider the policies, texts, but also how the physical layout of a city, material, influences the behaviors and social structures of its inhabitants. Interrogates the effects of discourses. Tangible impacts. New materialism focuses on how discourses have real, tangible effects on the material world, influencing everything from environmental conditions to bodily experiences. Example: in environmental discourse, new materialism would analyze not just how environmental issues are discussed but how these discourses affect actual environmental practices and policies. Integration of human and non-human actors. Breaking down barriers. New materialism breaks down the barriers between human and non-human actors, considering how objects, animals, and technologies also participate in discourses. Example: in healthcare, this approach would examine how medical instruments, non-human actors, participate in the discourse of diagnosis and treatment, affecting patient care practices. Rethinking power and knowledge. Material foundations of power. By considering the material foundations of knowledge production, new materialism provides a more nuanced understanding of Foucault's power-knowledge concept, recognizing that power also flows through material forms and not just through linguistic or social structures. Example: in education, it would look at how the physical arrangement of classrooms and the design of educational technologies influence the distribution of knowledge and authority. New materialism offers a revolutionary perspective in discourse analysis by highlighting the significance of the material alongside the discursive. This approach encourages a more holistic view of how discourses are produced, circulated, and sustained, paying attention to the complex interactions between material conditions and linguistic practices. In doing so, it provides richer insights into how discourses shape and are shaped by the tangible world, making it an invaluable framework for addressing contemporary social, technological, and ecological challenges. Conclusion: new materialism in discourse analysis provides a compelling framework for examining the interplay between language and material reality. By acknowledging the agency of matter and the entanglement of material discursive phenomena, this approach challenges traditional separations and offers a more dynamic understanding of how discourses operate within and upon the material world. The core principles of new materialism, including the rejection of classic dualisms and the recognition of the mutual influence between discursive and material realms, enrich our analysis of texts and their broader societal impacts. This perspective not only broadens the scope of discourse analysis but also deepens our understanding of the practical, tangible effects of language in shaping human experience and environmental conditions. New materialism encourages a re-evaluation of the role of discourse in social and material transformations, providing valuable insights for both theoretical exploration and practical application in various fields. Frequently asked questions. What is new materialism? New materialism is a theoretical framework that emphasizes the active role of material in conjunction with discursive practices. It challenges traditional dualisms like mind, body, and human, non-human, advocating for the intrinsic agency of matter and its integral role in social phenomena. How does new materialism relate to discourse analysis? New materialism expands discourse analysis by integrating the study of material conditions with linguistic and semiotic analyses. It explores how physical and material contexts are not only backdrops but active participants in the creation and perpetuation of discourses. What are the core principles of new materialism? Agency of matter. Matter possesses its own agency and is an active participant in processes traditionally attributed only to humans. Material discursive entanglement. Material conditions and discursive practices are deeply interwoven and influence each other. Rejection of classic dualisms challenges conventional divides such as natural, cultural, and human, non-human, promoting a more integrated approach to understanding phenomena. Why is new materialism important in discourse analysis? It provides a more comprehensive understanding of how discourses produce material effects and how these effects influence discourse. This approach is crucial for fields like environmental studies, technology studies, and cultural studies, where the material aspects significantly impact discursive outcomes. How does new materialism challenge traditional views in discourse analysis? It shifts the focus from viewing materials and environments as passive elements to recognizing them as active forces that shape and are shaped by discursive practices. This challenges anthropocentric and dualistic approaches in traditional discourse analysis. Can you give an example of how new materialism applies to environmental discourse? In environmental discourse, new materialism helps analyze how discussions about nature and environmental policies are both shaped by and shaping the physical environment. It looks at how these discourses and material realities like climate change and pollution interact dynamically. What methodological changes does new materialism suggest for discourse analysis? It suggests incorporating methods that can capture both material and discursive dimensions, such as multimodal research designs, ethnographic approaches to observe material discursive interactions, and the use of digital tools to analyze how technologies mediate these interactions. What ethical implications does new materialism have in discourse studies? It calls for greater accountability in recognizing the role of non-human entities in shaping human societies and ethical practices. This involves reconsidering how we engage with and represent the material world in our discourses. How does new materialism address the role of technology in discourse? It views technology as an active participant in the creation of discourses, influencing how information is communicated and interacted with. New materialism studies the reciprocal relationship between technological advancements and discursive changes. What criticisms does new materialism face in its application to discourse analysis? Critics argue that new materialism might overemphasize the material at the expense of the socio-cultural and political dimensions of discourse. There are also concerns about the vagueness in defining the agency of matter and challenges in methodologically integrating material and discursive analyses without reducing one to the other.